Today, my topic is James Joyce's Ulysses. The title of my paper is Manifesto of a Dead World, a study in James Joyce's Ulysses. As you all know that James Joyce is associated with a great psychological movement of stream of consciousness. And in this very novel, you will find how beautifully, how analytically he has used the technique of stream of consciousness in delineating his novel, Ulysses. James Joyce can share with D.H. Lawrence the claim of being the most original novelist of the century. Though in the 60s, his popularity did not keep pace with that of Lawrence. He came to feel that time and space are artificial and that all is related and art should be a symbol of that relationship. His work became notorious because in this pursuit he described, particularly in the close of Ulysses, these inner contemplations of his characters when they concentrate on their own sexual life. He had Dublin and the Catholic Church as his background, and from them both he revolted, as can be seen in a portrait of the artist as a young man. Both were highly organized unities, and to leave them, particularly to leave the church, was emotionally to enter into chaos. Psychologically, Joyce is forever attempting to re-seek unity in a world that is disorganized. Instead of wandering of Homer's Ulysses over the geographical world, Joyce shows the mental wanderings of a character in Dublin for the space of 24 hours. The action of Ulysses covers one specific day rather than 24 hours in Dublin in 1904. The Ulysses of the title is the Jewish advertisement space salesman Leopold Bloom. The telemachus is Stephen Dedalus, a young poet whom we may take as Joyce himself. He has already appeared in Joyce's autobiographical novel, A Portrait of the Artist as Young Man. Penelope is Bloom's wife, Marian. Nothing extraordinary happens. Bloom and Dedalus wander about the city. Their paths cross towards the end of the novel. During the course of the day, Bloom goes to the butcher shop to buy kidney for breakfast, visit newspaper office, calls in at the National Library, attends a funeral, has an erotic daydream about a young girl, drops in at the students' common room of a maternity hospital. During the day, too, his wife is unfaithful to him. Dedalus quarrels with the young man he lives with, teaches in a school, propounds his theory of Hamlet at the National Library, goes to the brothel, and is rescued by Bloom. Incidentally, Joyce produced a parody of Homer, which could also be taken as a criticism of 20th century life, a representation of what the heroic shrinks to image of Muftism. But by basing his story in Homer, Joyce does something more than that. He expresses the universal in the particular. Dedalus and Marian Bloom become modern visions of archetypal figures. Dedalus is Hamlet, or at any rate an aspect of Hamlet, and it is out of this that the organic structure of the novel arises. Dedalus, having spurned his mother and renounced his father, is in search of a father figure, a spiritual figure. Bloom, whose only son has died in infancy, is looking for a son, and in a shadowy way, Dedalus and Bloom find what they want in each other. Joyce uses the stream of consciousness technique most thoroughly in his treatment of Marian Bloom. She enters the novel as a character in her own right only at the end. Her thoughts, poured out pell-mell, form its tremendous climax. She is in bed at night, relaxed, drowsy after love, isolated from any outside contact with the world, so that the flow of her thoughts, her erotic reverie, her memories of love, and her speculation about Bloom and Dedalus can proceed in a spate, unchecked, uninhibited, unpunctured. And here it may be remarked that Dorothy Richardson said, feminine prose should properly be unpunctured, moving from point to point without formal obstruction. In Marian Bloom, Joyce creates another Chaucer's Wife of Bath. With Bloom, Joyce suggests rather than fully records the stream of consciousness. As Bloom walks through Dublin, stray thoughts flicker through his mind like fishes. thoughts suggested, by whatever business he is in about, by things that catch his eye in the stream of smells, and all the time coming sometimes to consciousness through association with these sense impressions. Below the surface of thoughts are certain permanent preoccupations. The void in his life became of his child's death, his father's suicide, his humiliation as a cuckold, his feelings of being a Jew, an outsider. Bloom is a figure of great pathos and comic at the same time, and essentially he is unheroic anti-hero. Stephen Dedalus is a special case. He is a projection of the author himself. As a young man, arrogant, tortured by a vast ambition, not yet realized, struck with remorse for his behavior towards his mother, of his family, his religion and his country. He lacks the universality of Bloom and his wife. His problem remains, by comparison, local and personal. For his rendering of Stephen, Joyce uses a device which cannot be called a stream of consciousness technique. Stephen's mode of thought is absolutely distinct from Bloom's. Stephen thinks in highly intellectual terms. One of the astonishing qualities of Ulysses is the variety of ways in which Joyce renders his character and scenes. One instance of this is the series of parodies of the growth of the language in the episode of the hospital. Another is the episode of Gatti McDowell, the young girl whose display of exhibitionism moves Bloom to self-abuse. Her fantasy of love is not presented in any form of a stream of consciousness, but of cheap romantic fiction with whose heroines she identifies herself. Joyce is Flaubert's true successor, both in making prose, verse rhythm, and making language new. S.L. Goldberg says, like the Westland, it has settled down as one of the central literary facts of the 20th century. Ulysses is devoted to one day, 16 June 1904 in Dublin. It exploits the parallels with Homer's Odyssey. It is very carefully constructed, and that its odd techniques and pervasive symbolism represent a deliberate, serious exploration of modern life. It concentrates on two figures who form a kind of composite protagonist. Joyce's art is more self-conscious, more abstract, more concerned with its spiritual and social alienation. Joyce's art is of a special kind. In Ulysses, he propounds his theory with symbols, by images, by objects, words that carry a burden of the mystery of another spiritual, timeless, more real world. Ulysses has been remarked by several critics as a moral and social satire. As a matter of fact, the subject of Ulysses is modern civilization, a civilization in cultural and moral disintegration. S.L. Goldberg further observes, every aspect of life, individual and social, exhibits this collapse of traditional order and values. Every chapter of Ulysses contains symbolic reference to some art of human life. Theology, economics, literature, politics, medicine, science, and so on. This book is full of references to Homer, Dante, Aquinas, Shakespeare, and others, which are symbols of the traditional value, whose decay is charted in the novel. Dublin is an inferno. Bloom, the citizen, and Stephen, the artist, represents its essential loneliness or exile. Joyce does not say, but merely presents it by his satirical technique, his stylistic parodies, his symbolic patterns. He remains aloof, detached from his world, and reveals in true nature. He is a realist, not in technique perhaps, but in moral outlook. There is a truth in the claim that the stream of consciousness novel gives a greater weight to the private inner life of the individual as against the public outer life. Joyce's use of the stream of consciousness technique has its effect. Bloom's and Stephen's isolation, their alienation from their society are superbly portrayed. When William James first used the phrase stream of consciousness, he was thinking less of a continuous, even flow of mental impressions, that of the individual's sense of personal identity and continuity. The whole of the Dublin scene is apparently evoked and suggested by its effects rather than by description. The real artistic unity of Joyce's stream of consciousness writing is the epiphany. What he renders dramatically are minds engaged in the apprehension of epiphanies, the element of meaning apprehended in life. Joyce turns to stream of consciousness not simply to record the given reality of the present, nor to use as symbols of transcendental values. Rather, they exhibit the activity of the character apprehending meaning in the given reality, expressing values by given life, shape, evaluating and informing it at the same time. The basic activity of the citizen is the basic activity of the artist. The characters are treated with a devastating irony. Bloom is the representative of the general spiritual death. He is hopelessly immersed in matter. His sensibility is shapeless and ineffectual. Stephen represents spiritual deficiencies, and it is very complementary to those of Bloom. Joyce's irony is completely pervasive and totally comprehensive. Like mock heroic, the most obvious mode of irony in Ulysses is the exposure of the protagonist's inadequate and contradictions. Diagnostic irony that underlines Joyce's comparison of the noble and the spacious world of Homer with the corruption of the present. Bloom's hopes and ambitions are symbols of universal decay. Bloom does represent the common man in the modern society without religion, without friends, without a real community. People take the novel as mock heroic, exposing the sordid darkness of the modern world by contrasting it to the bright gleam of a heroic age. Bloom is identified not only with Ulysses but also Christ, King Hamlet, the wandering Jew, Sindbad the sailor, the ancient mariner, Robinson Crusoe, a solar hero, and so on. Ulysses may be compared with the West Land. Both works are vision of a city, modern Dublin and modern London. Both are based upon famous myths. The West Land, based upon the myth of a mysterious sickness of the Fisher King in the Grail's stories and the plight of the infertility, has fallen upon his hands. Ulysses, upon the myth of the return of the wanderer and discovery by the son of his long-lost father and by the father of his full-grown son. The city of James Joyce is a city of confusion and despair. For Baudelaire, Paris is a city of dreadful night, and for T.S. Eliot, London symbolizes all the meanness, boredom, and unreality. The philosophic theme of spiritual disintegration and chaotic situation has been clearly demonstrated with craftsmanship and artistic awareness by James Joyce. The horrifying situations and sense of deadness are the main issue. The author is having a direct confrontation with them. The reality of dead world. Love is dying. Love is dying. It is dead. It is scattered on almost every page. James Joyce's Ulysses is an irritating and disturbing book, a manifesto of a dead world. Thank you.